Every goalkeeper remembers the first moment the game grabbed them, their first idol, the first save. And for Alan Fettis, that moment began on the pitches of Northern Ireland before carrying him across leagues, countries, and eventually into the coaching rooms of Manchester United. In this episode, Alan opens the door to a life spent inside goalkeeping at the highest level. From battling for early opportunities to guiding future internationals, his journey shows how his resilience, curiosity, and quiet graft shape the keepers who go on to thrive. This is a conversation about the game behind the game, the mindset, the evolution, and the small details that make a goalkeeper grow. Brilliant story from a man who's lived every chapter. Hello, and welcome back for another episode of Catching Up with Evo GK. I'm Paul Banks, and today my guest is fantastic Alan Fettis. Alan, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
A bit of information about Alan, if you're not aware already. So he was born in Newtown Abbey, Northern Ireland, in 1971. Carved out a long playing career as a goalkeeper across Britain and Ireland, and turned professional in the early 1990s, making hundreds of senior appearances and earned 25 caps for Northern Ireland as well.
Correct.
After hanging up his gloves, he quickly moved into goalkeeper coaching, taking roles at clubs including Derby County, Sunderland, and most notably a long spell at Man United's academy before joining first-team goalkeeper coach at Middlesbrough FC in 2022. I always have to take a moment when I've read the guests' bios, Alan, because I try not to fanboy too much during the episodes, but what an amazing background. You've done some amazing things with your career, and I always start at the beginning, which is where I think a lot of us start our football journey as kids, is who was your goalkeeping idol when you grew up?
Goalkeeping idol growing up was obviously coming from Northern Ireland was Pat Jennings. And I suppose Jim Platt also, although because Pat was so good, Jim didn't play that much, so you never saw him, but still I think he got 35 caps, which is still pretty good. So they were my two idols, if you like, growing up. But being from Northern Ireland in the 70s and 80s, my dad used to take me to Irish League games, so Linfield would have gone and watch Linfield, where you'd have George Dunlop. So George Dunlop was seen as probably the best goalkeeper, arguably the best goalkeeper, because I would probably say that Alan Patterson was probably as good as. And I managed to train with at Glentoran as well, when I signed for Glentoran. So those were probably my idols, but I always looked across, and you always watched, growing up in the 70s and 80s, you always watched what you could on television. You went and looked for stuff, not so much now where it's just you're swamped with stuff, but you went and searched for games and Midweek Sports Special and Grandstand and Football Focus. You went and searched for these programs so that you could see and watch the games from England and Scotland and Europe and seeing all these different goalkeepers, and you could see the goalkeepers growing up like Bruce Grobbelaar, and people like that, and Ray Clemens.
Yeah.
Alex Stepney was always a big hero of mine, and Gary Bailey, obviously being a Manchester United fan. So all these goalkeepers together, just growing up watching them, and you just wanted to, I just wanted to be a goalkeeper then and emulate those types of goalkeepers.
It's funny, I always remember my dad saying, talking about someone, he said, he had hands like Ray Clemens. And it's always stuck with me. And when you mentioned that, it just kind of triggered that off. But so if we look at, say, Pat Jennings as the first person that you mentioned, what specifically, what do you think his key skills and attributes were that as a kid drew you to him as an idol?
I think one, he was Northern Irish, and he was playing at the highest level. He was playing for Spurs, playing for Arsenal, and having a wonderful career. And like I said, coming from a little council estate in Newton Abbey, and people around there, Jimmy Nicholl was from the next estate from us, so having people like that were so close to where you lived, you thought, there might be a chance. You always had that dream of, maybe I just want to get across the water.
Done good, right?
Just want to get over there and do something. But Pat Jennings was always very calm, and he made unbelievable saves, and he dominated in the air. And Pat wasn't a massive goalkeeper. He made saves that he just, I suppose now you'd say, he's saving with his feet, that's what you do. But people. It was, I suppose, in some ways he was unorthodox, but he was just such a fantastic goalkeeper.
Kept the ball out, right?
However you do it. Well, yeah, a bit more than that, but yeah, yeah. I mean, Spain '82 was just incredible, and that game, everybody talks about the game where they beat Spain, Arcanada, Armstrong, and Mal Donaghy getting sent off, but Pat Jennings that night was unbelievable. He was incredible,
amazing. And so we'll come back to Pat Jennings at the end of the show. So I've got a couple of questions I'll ask you around that, but I guess you grew up Northern Ireland, playing local grassroots football all the way through to what level did you get to in Northern Ireland before you made the leap to English League?
I played Irish League. I played for Ards. So I started my youth team Irish League with Glentoran, and then moved to Ards, and I managed to get in and play some Irish League football at Ards, and then got transferred to Hull City.
You came through to Hull City. Was there any step up in the difference of the leagues? Was there a difference in quality? Or
yeah, the Irish League at that time was pretty good. There was a lot of sort of ex-professionals, and there was a lot of good Irish League players. And the Irish League was a half decent standard. It was a good standard, but for a part-time league, for a part-time division. I think I was 17, 18 when I got and made my league debut for Ards in the Irish League, and it was, and I was quite a late maturer. I was quite a thin. I think I made my league debut for Hull. I was 11 stone too, so I was had a lot of growing. I still had a growing to do. Yeah, I know. I still had a lot of growing to do. So I guess what I was then when I made my league debut at Ards. So it was that was a challenge in itself, and obviously it was only part time. You were 2 nights a week and a game on a Saturday, and there was no gym work and things like that. You had to go and find that. You had to go to the local leisure centre, the Valley Leisure Centre, and do some weights and things like that. So to try and build up some strength. But the Irish League was good. The Irish League was a good standard. Yep. Some really good players in that Ards team, and certainly some really good players in the Linfield and Glentoran teams, who were the dominant teams at the time. Portadown then started to make a bit of an impact along with Glenavon. So there was 4 teams that really were starting to push, rather than it was always Glentoran, Linfield, and 7.
And so then you made 100 appearances for Hull. Was that kind of consecutive appearances? Did you have gaps in those appearances, or were you kind of?
No, my first season at Hull, it went pretty well. I think I played 40 something games for that season.
Mm-hmm.
So for the first season, it went pretty well, and I didn't know why it was going to happen. You were just hoping it was going to work out, and it was okay. It went all right. With things to learn, and made mistakes, of course you do, but it was overall, I think, for a first season, it went pretty well. Second season, not so well. Steve Wilson got in the team, and Willow was a fantastic goalkeeper as well. I got in the team and played well, and I had to wait my turn, but it was a good learning and a good lesson for me, good learning curve, and a good lesson for me so I had to work even harder to try and get myself back in the team, and sure, you have to build up a little bit of resilience and find ways of getting back in the team, so there was no goalie coaches then. It was just me and Steve together, and I think Rod Arnold would have come in maybe once a month or something at a time. So you had to find ways of trying to better yourself, trying to find different exercises to do, and so that was probably my first venture into coaching, I suppose.
Coaching yourself.
Yeah.
Why not? So does getting back into the whole team involve you playing up front, I believe?
Yeah, that was a few years later. What happened was at the time there was, I can't remember, I think there was 3 subs. I think they increased it to 3 subs, and one of them had to be a goalie. So Steve was in the team. I'd damaged my thumb, and I couldn't do any handling work. I had to rest it, but I was still training with the players in the outfield, keep the fitness up, and the squads were small at the time as well. There wasn't massive squads now, and Hull didn't have a great deal of money either. So it was a case of needs must, I suppose. And it was just before Christmas. I was out doing the warm up for Steve, and Neil Allison came across, and who was sub that day, and said, "Gaffer wants you to put number 12 on." And we've got Lyndon Brown was carrying an injury. We might not get through the game. He may have to come on up front. So I thought, to be honest, he was a joker of the team. I'm thinking, oh, here we go again. I got on with that. I just thought, well, Steve's the most important thing here. I need to warm Steve up and give him what he needs. So when Steve had done his bit, I went in and lo and behold, the manager said, I need you to put this on. Lyndon's carrying it. You may have to go on. I was like, wow, okay, whatever. Like, you know, so outfield kit on. I think there was 13 minutes left, and Lyndon, I need to come off. So that was that. Yeah. So that was my first venture up front, and I ran on. And I think Terry's words were, "Run on, make a nuisance of yourself, and see what we can do." Now, Oxford at the time I think they were top of the league or second or something like that. They were doing really well. They were playing really well, and we were doing okay. I think we were top 10. So it was. Yeah, it was a big game. Steve played really well on the day. I think Dean Windus scored the first one, and I just came on and ran in the box, and the ball came, and I just put my foot on it. I went in the net. So that was
Yeah.
very
Amazing.
odd, very odd.
Amazing.
But still, a lot of people seem to remind me of that. There was a lot of people at the game that day. I think it was about 27,000. That's the amount of people.
That's a good amount.
Yeah, but there was only about 3,000 there, really. But there seems to be a lot more there. You know, anytime you go to Hull, I was at the game. It was good times. Good times.
It's not
All
very
time.
often. Not very often a keeper gets licensed to score a goal outfield, right?
No.
Definitely made a nuisance.
I'd certainly be. I think I chased it back past down, and I realised then, now I know why I played in goal.
Yeah, no more of that. No more of that. So then, obviously, you also went on to win 25 caps for Northern Ireland. What does it feel like stepping out on the national stage? Regardless of the crowds, like that's.
I think, yeah, the crowds. I mean, I was fortunate to play against some really, really good teams. I remember one game in Portugal, in Porto. We drew one each, and I had a good game that night. But the whole crowd was fantastic. You know, the atmosphere was really a bit different to what I was used to. I was playing third tier football, you know, so it was different. But it never really bothered me, crowds and stuff. You know, I think the bigger the crowd, the more you just sort of got involved in the game. You couldn't really hear the noise. When there's less
just
people
an atmosphere,
there,
right?
Yeah, when there's less people there, you hear every comment, and you hear, you know,
whether you want to or not.
Well, exactly, you know, and you know, there's lots of things that you think, oh, wowzers, but yeah, the bigger the crowd, I think it was just a good atmosphere, a good noise. It never really sort of bothered me too much. I remember playing Republic of Ireland, Lansdowne Road, and I think we were allowed something like 50 tickets or something like that. That was all there was. There was nobody from the north allowed to come to Lansdowne Road. So it was a brilliant day. It was a brilliant game. The atmosphere was fantastic. Electric. We drew 1-1, but you know, games like that was just fantastic games. Like, you know, really, really good games.
And then you retired at some point, but you moved straight into coaching. Was that something that you saw coming from a distance? Is that something you intended?
Did I intend it? I loved it. I always did it. Like I said earlier, I always did it.
Yeah.
Because we had no goalie coaches. I mean, you're buying DVDs, you're buying Simon Smith's videos and stuff. You were buying books. I bought it. Funny enough, I saw it the other day. I was cleaning something out. I thought, oh, there's a Peter Shilton book. And I bought like things. There was Martin Arts and Hans Leiter. I think people from abroad. So you're buying all these books and videos at the time and DVDs, just so that you could, you know, practice and do different things and what could help you. And you made things up yourself and you work with the other goalie coaches or the other goalkeepers. I say there were no goalie coaches, and then when that Rod came in, he would come in because he used to do some work with the goalkeeping schools. So he'd come in and show us different things. We'd do that. We'd carry that on. So I suppose in some way, yeah, coaching was always there because I enjoyed doing it and I enjoyed making things up and making mistakes and getting things wrong. I go, oh, we'll not do that again. But yeah, but I also, as I was getting towards the end of my career, so in mid 30s, I took a degree. I started doing a sports science degree because I thought, well, I'm getting towards the end of this career. What am I going to do next?
Yeah.
And I'd done my licenses and stuff. I started doing those, and but I didn't know what was going to happen. You sort of panic a little bit. You're worried. You go, what am I going to do next? So I took on a sports science degree. Didn't realise how difficult it was going to be. I mean, it was 6 years. It was so difficult.
Wow.
So I finished playing, and then we moved house. I moved jobs. I went to my first coaching job was at Derby. Then I came up to Sunderland, and we moved house. We came up here, and I was still trying to do this course, which was 6 years, and it was just so difficult. But yeah, so the coaching went okay. And I managed to work at some brilliant academies, and I ended up finishing my degree because I thought, well, I actually was going to go back home, and I was thinking about maybe being a PE teacher or something like that, and another career, and have another 20, 25 years career, and then that would be me, retire and go and live in the sun. But yeah, so the coaching seemed to go okay. Derby was a brilliant grounding for me, a really good grounding. I went in with Billy Davis. Kevin Thelwell was academy manager. So that was a really good grounding. It was so tough, really, really tough. There was a lot of long hours, all different age groups. At one point, because Billy lost his job, and Paul Jewell took over, so they were waiting for Gary Walsh to come in. So I was doing first team down to under nines. So that was a difficult. I think it was about 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. That was a difficult time.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, well, if I can get through this bit, that'll tell me if I really want to start coaching.
Yeah. And
I did, and I got through it, and I got to towards the end of the season before I got sacked because we got relegated. So course, that was the Derby year, you know, in the Premier League. So we so of course we're getting cut, and I lost my job and moved on. But that was a tough ground, but it was brilliant because the staff there were so good in the academy, so good, and really enjoyed my time there. And then came to Sunderland, and again, that was great staff, really, really good staff. And it was just with Kevin Ball was the under. So I was a goalkeeping coach for Kevin Ball, but Jed was there and Elliot was there, and it was a really good club at the time. Steve Bruce was manager. I had a good relationship with Nigel Spink as well. So it was a really good club at the time. And it was actually a little bit of a wrench to leave, to be honest. If it wasn't for Manchester United, I was quite happy there. It was a good club.
And that's where you first started building a relationship with James Howarth as well, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah, because James came in. We had him in trial for a bit, but decided not to take him in the end. But he was, this chair, that was this chair. Right? James came in on a trial, and he did okay. He did okay, but we had some good goalies there.
Yeah,
he had some really good goalies. So to come in and to surpass the likes of Ben Wilson, Jordan Pickford, Joel Dixon was in there, Johnny Madison was in there as well. Trevor Carson, so there were some really good goalies in there. Lewis King came in from Derby, funnily enough. Really good goalkeepers. They were real. And they always have done. Sunderland have always had some really good goalkeepers and still do.
Yeah.
Pruds does a really good job up there as well, and Kevin Wolf done a great job before I came in as well. So they had some good coaches, but they had some really good talented goalies.
You met another one of our guests during your time at Sunderland as well, because we had Jonathan Craig on the show as well, and he mentioned you had a hand in kind of joining the Sunderland coaching team at one point, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was you were trying to build things. I mean, you were trying to do the best. When I went in, it had sort of been left a little bit. I mean, Kevin was working, and then coming in and doing his bit, and he's working all sorts of hours. So it needed just trimmed down a little bit and a little bit more organisation And once we sort of organised it a little bit better and made it more efficient, then I think it started to work better. And it was, we just needed coaches in. We needed different areas to develop, and trying to the development squads and filling holes and gaps, and trying to develop as best we could within the budget that we had.
Grow it, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it was good. It was a great time, and like I say, I made loads of mistakes doing these things, but you learn from them, and that takes you, hopefully takes you on to the next bit if you're willing to accept the mistakes and move on.
And then you've already mentioned it. You moved on to the Man United scene. What was that like? Because that's a different world altogether, right?
Yeah, it is, and it certainly was. It was. Well, I applied for the job. I didn't know if I was going to get it, and I was up front with Jed as well. I said, look, Jed at Manchester United advertised Richard Hardis's job. He was leaving to go to Molde with Ollie, and I applied, and I got an interview. I managed to get the job, so I bluffed Steely enough to get the job, like, you know. So that was a bit. That was 2011. So I went down for the interview, but the winter here was horrendous. It was horrendous. So dug my car out. I took my daughter to school. I remember going for this interview. Dug my car out. The snow was there. I was like, how am I going to get to this interview? The interview was at 2:00 or something that afternoon. How am I going to get to this interview? I dug my car out. It was 9:00 in the morning, digging this car out, trying to go. And it took me probably an hour to get to the A19 I lived in East Bolton. So the A19, I was only a couple of miles. I go, oh no, this is going to be awful. If this is all the way down, I'm never going to make it. This is a chance of a lifetime, I'm never going to make it. Managed to get to, by the time I got to Middlesbrough, there was nothing. I ended up putting my feet up for 2 hours in the car and probably fall asleep. But so I got the job at United. It was, and it was, for 11 and a half years, it was fantastic. It was an amazing club. I know it's had its ups and downs, and it's been at different levels and different things have gone on, but still, for me,
Manchester United ball, right?
It's some place. I was down at the weekend and watching under-18s play. Wonderful place.
And you've seen the likes of, and I got wrong for mispronouncing it from Steely. You've seen the likes of David De Gea come through the ranks at Man United as well. Like, what's it like working with somebody who you can see such incredible talent, potential? Like, the roof must be so high for those kids.
Yeah, I mean, I remember David walking in the office. I was sat with Steely, and he walked in the office and says, "Oh, this is David," and he was just a 19-year-old, like, thin, scrawny, with a scraggly beard, and I'm like, wow. But when you seen him, you saw him train, and you go, oh yeah, you can see the talent that he's got. And certainly in those early days when Steely got hold of him, and did the work with him and got him in the gym and built him up, you could see it just started to grow into Manchester United, which is not an easy thing to do. And he just took it on. He I have to say, he had some resilience. I mean, certainly in the early days when he went in, he got beat up a little bit. Manager took him out, Anders went in, and he got back in the team, and then he just sort of went from there. That was him. And he was in the team for the next 10 years, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, talented boy, made incredible saves, very athletic, quick, and like I say, very resilient.
I think it's safe to say that during the time you were at United, there was certainly a period of a lot of change going on, lots of different things going on in the back offices and things. What, in terms of, training culture, maybe the pressure, what did the outside world not see that was going on at Man United at that time?
What with the changes of managers? And
yeah,
I mean, the main difference is the styles that then come into the club. I mean, obviously they'd spent so long with Sir Alex and a style that he had basically developed for the whole club, and all the way through from foundation phase as it became, all the way through, there was this Manchester United style of play, a way of playing. And then for it to change, I mean, I don't think, certainly from the goalkeeping side of things, whenever David Moyes came in with Woodsy, that didn't change too much. I think Eric's style and Woodsy's style were quite similar. So there wasn't a big difference there with regards to David and Anders. It's pretty much the same, so they were fine. Obviously, results then weren't as good. The team had changed, and Moyes was trying to put his stamp on it and trying to rebuild it. And it was always going to be really difficult, really, really difficult. But certainly from the goalkeeper's perspective, didn't change too much. Obviously, different style in some just basically practices that have gone on are different, but everything else was pretty much the same. The biggest change then became when Mr. Van Gaal came in. When Mr. Van Gaal came in, he had a real style, rightly or wrongly, that was his style, and they were very good at it. They were how they trained his philosophy and methodology. That was how they had it, sessions that were perfect for how they wanted it, and they trained it really well. But it was different, and the goalies found it really different. Certainly, the English goalies out of town, well, certainly Sam Johnson, who was in around the first team, found it difficult because there was a lot with, maybe they were ahead of the curve, I'm not sure how you would put it, but there was a lot in with the team. So Franz would have the goalies in with the team. They'd probably do a warm-up with Franz and then straight in with the team, and everything was geared around the goalkeeper in with the team. Mm-hmm. So all the sessions were goalkeeper was in, and that's how they were getting their training. Mm-hmm. Whether that's right or wrong, who's to say? I think, me personally, a little hybrid of both. Yeah, I mean that's I would work anyway, trying to hybrid and a little bit of both. Of you're still getting your work, your individual work and unit work before you go in with the team and then coach them within the team environment. Yeah, but that was probably the biggest difference at the time. But I have to say the way they trained it was very good.
I think that's the interesting thing for me with the son who's gone through grassroots is there's that we're very fortunate that we've got a very good grassroots club. We've got a very good grassroots goalkeeper coach, which, when I was a kid, there's none of these things existed. You had the pink paper, like as John and Ian were talking about, you had the pink paper, you advertised for players and everybody turned up and did trials and stuff. And I wasn't even good enough for that. But the thing I do see with my son is kind of, there's almost that gap there at that age where he's getting goalkeeper coaching on one side, which is really good, it's really focused on the technique. Then he gets really good kind of team coaching on the day, and he gets his skills coaching with his feet and things like that. But there's almost that gap of how do you stitch the two together, which is where I guess that is going, that kind of hybrid philosophy of, you need the technical stuff. Here's how to apply it to real life. But here's somebody who, when you're applying it to real life, understands what you're thinking and what you're doing, what you're not doing, as opposed to somebody coming out from the opposite perspective as an outfield coach who can stand there and go, right, well, I need strikers to be shooting at the goalkeeper, and I'm going to praise the goalkeeper or tell them they've done badly, but I don't really know what it is that they should be doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think as well with that, I mean, I went and had a coffee with Paul McGuinness, who was the under-18s coach at Manchester United when I went in. And Paul had been there a long time. And we have sat, he was asking about goalkeepers, now asking about centre forwards and defenders, and it's almost like we were saying, look, I work specialised with the goalkeepers, but also you got to deal with, you got to work with the centre forwards. You got to work with the defenders as well, because you work really closely with these, and if you work together to, one, as the defenders to stop shots and block shots in a certain way, and you do that bit, or as the centre forward, look at the goalkeeper, look at his hands, there's the space here, look at his position here, and he gets in that, so you might want to try this, you might want, so it's fine saying we're goalkeepers and we specialise, and we want, obviously we want to make the goalkeepers better, of course we do, that's our job. But also there's add-ons, and there's a byproduct of that as well, which is, look, this is what we're focusing on, this is what you need to think about and you need to think about, and we can all work together. So we were chatting about that, and we were saying to get, because he was asking me about what the goalkeeper's like, what they're not like, what are you practicing, what's the next bit, where are you looking to take it, and how does that affect then the other parts that are associated with that. And Paul he's a fantastic coach, and the way he thinks about different things and his style of play and philosophies and different things. It was a really good chat, and so I think that's certainly that goalkeeping coaches and outfield coaches have got to think a little bit more of. And you're a goalkeeping coach, specialist coach, but you can help with the forwards and you can help with the defenders, and everybody should be in together and trying to find the best way, the best.
It's a really interesting idea. I haven't really considered it from the other's perspective of really supporting the outfield, certainly the defenders, in terms of what more they can be doing to support the goalkeeper from a goalkeeper's perspective. I think there's a lot to be taken from that.
I think most coaches now, I mean, there's that much analysis, certainly at first team levels, all the way through. There's so much analysis, again, rightly or wrongly. I mean, I would, before every game when I was at Middlesbrough, look at the goalkeeper. What's he do? What's his strengths? What's his weaknesses? What do you think we can, and pass it on to the coach and say, look, this is what I think. This is what I thought. And they go, okay, well, I'll go and speak to him and give him a little video. And they're all doing it. It's not just me doing that. Everybody's doing that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's really, you're just trying to help. You're trying to help the team, aren't you? You're trying to help.
So then, you've had an amazing coaching career as well as an amazing playing career. What's the biggest kind of pinch me moment amongst all of that, where you've maybe met an idol of yours, or you work with somebody who you've admired from afar? I don't know, what really stands out across the time that you've had?
Playing international football was an incredible achievement, I suppose, but I was very fortunate to play against some really good goalkeepers, like goalkeepers that you'd seen or you'd grown up with. Meeting Pat Jennings was a bit of a pinch me moment. He became a coach in Northern Ireland, but he wasn't. People say don't meet your idols because you'll be disappointed. You could never be disappointed, but he was just exactly as you thought. He was an absolute gentle one, really nice person, just a very charitable type of guy, and he was just what you thought he was. So that was a bit of a pinch me moment, that he became my coach at Northern Ireland. So that was, I suppose, going into Manchester United as a coach was a bit of a pinch me moment, coming as a fan in Northern Ireland, and then sort of wanting to just play football in England if you could. But to actually get to Manchester United, I was never good enough to play for Manchester United. Well, that reserve game in pre-season, what you did, but I'll take that. But by the way, it was the only one we lost all pre-season, so it wasn't that good. But that was a bit of a pinch me moment, sort of being there and meeting Sir Alex Ferguson and seeing players like Wayne Rooney and people like that.
Yeah,
that was amazing. But I'm never one to get pinch me moments. It's football is what it is.
Yeah, and this is something that I was talking about with Simon Smith on the last episode. Was I think people can forget that we put footballers in the same category as celebrities, and maybe rightly or wrongly, but we'll put them up on this pedestal and they're almost become untouchables to us as kids and all the way through in adult life. We forget that they're just humans, they're just people. They've got somebody's got to do the dirty dishes when they finish their meal, and they've got dirty laundry in their bedroom, and they're just people with a skill set, with the peer that comes with it, whatever. But we go through the same experiences as everybody else, and I think there's too much of that forgotten in the modern day. We've almost moved them to deities, and it's kind of like, I remember going to see Peter Shilton in the local shopping centre when I was a kid. Like they're just people, and I think we should do more to kind of remind ourselves of that.
Yeah, I agree, because whenever Edwin came in, Van der Sar came into Manchester. Now, he was someone that when I started my career in England, he was Ajax and moving on. He was one of the European superstar goalkeepers at the time. And then to actually go in and do a bit of training with him. But again, one of the most down to earth, humble people you could have imagined to meet. And he was brilliant to work with.
Yeah.
I'm sure Eric would have said exactly the same.
Yeah.
It was brilliant to work with, and like I say, humble, but wanted to work and so there was no like ego with them. Or,
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. I'm not doing this session. It was like, what we're doing? Yeah, okay, no problem. We'll do that.
Roll the sleeves up and get on with it. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
Cool. And then we've got the more recent news for yourself, Alan, where you're going to go to Everton as the academy coach for the goalkeepers there. Working in line of sight from JP1. That's going to be a phenomenal opportunity for you for what's next, right? You're looking forward to that?
I am looking forward to it. It'll be a challenge, but it's not a job that I've not done before. But I'm looking forward to it. I had a wonderful 3 years at Middlesbrough. I had some really good times, but being away from home has its positives.
Careful.
Yeah. But you've got a family, and it's unfair at times as well. But so being back home, being home every night, again, so that'll be a good thing. But as far as being offered the job and taking the job at Everton, I'm looking forward to it. It's like I said, it's going to be a challenge, but I think I've spoken to some of the staff. It's a club I've known, because I've been in youth development a long time, and you get to know staff, and you get to know clubs, and you get to know people. And I've known some of their staff a long time. There's some Man United staff that are in Everton as well. So it's a great club. It's a really good club. It's a progressive club at the moment now, with the new stadium, and the training ground's really good, and they're trying to do things right. They've drawn a line under the problems that they've had, so hopefully they're moving in the right direction.
Well,
so hopefully
David's back, right? David's back at the helm. Hill Dickinson Stadium looks tremendous, I have to say. I've got a lot of respect for the Toffees. I love Everton as kind of my adopted second club, because of the relationship Sunderland has with them around Bradley Lowry and all that side of things. And at every step I've seen the Everton fans take the respect and show themselves in the right light. So I do wish you all the luck there as well.
Thank you.
And congratulations on getting that role.
Thank you.
I'm sure that'll be a fantastic opportunity. I guess, touching on Jordan Pickford, you must come across a wide variety of different personalities as goalkeepers. And we touched on this with Eric and again with Simon, is it takes a certain breed of person to want to be a goalkeeper and to put their head where other people wouldn't put their feet, almost. How do you find yourself coping with the variety of different personalities within the training sessions?
That's a difficult one to manage them, to put a session on for all of them. You have to try, of course. Sometimes you'll just put a session on because you're working on one particular aspect. You think, well, I'm putting this on for you. And you may even say to the goalkeeper, look, I'm putting this on for him. So just, but it will affect you, and it will affect you. And how we design the session, you'll get something out of yours, but it is, predominantly for this particular goalkeeper. It is difficult. It's funny. I was speaking with Hans Leiter recently, and I asked him a question about, he's been around Europe and been in England, but what's he seen that every goalkeeper has, or is there something that a goalkeeper has that sort of threads through all the ones that make it to this level?
Yeah.
And there isn't, but there's also that intrinsic desire to be the best that they can be. And and we agreed that was one variable that or component that I think even as an athlete, as an Olympic athlete, you just had that selfishness and that desire to be the best. And the thing about it, I think the best that do, the ones that get up there, and Anne said the same, which are the ones that constantly want to get better, constantly are challenging themselves, but also challenging the coach.
Yeah.
And so you're always
pushing
thinking,
back.
and they're pushing. And those ones, I mean, I've worked with Jordan, but he was 15 through to 17. But he had that intrinsic desire to be the best, and I'm going to be the best. Dean Henderson as well had that there's something in them that they just want to go and be the best. Some people go about it differently. Sam Johnson was more of a quieter type of personality, but he had that, I want to get better, I want to get better. And I think the best ones, the best athletes want to get better, and they'll challenge, and no matter what age that they are, they'll always, if they're in their 30s, like, what else can I do? Look, I'm looking at this. Look at this. What else can I do? How can you think? Yeah. And then as a coach, it's fantastic, because then well, how can I do that? And you're getting better as a coach. So you're not just putting the session on because it looks good and it's great. You're putting the session on because it's for a reason. And we I went back this summer. Did sort of learning programs again, and I thought I didn't know how I was going to. I did it with Sobrin. I did it with the goalkeepers this summer with all of them. Big Sol, I didn't know how he would take it. Like, and I sat with him, and we sat together, and we went, "What do you think about this? What do you think about this?" And it was just to try and focus his attention a little bit in training. We go, okay, so we'll go what. And he was brilliant with it, and I think it just trained his eye a little bit more and just focused. Not that he wasn't anyway, but it's just, look, we're doing this. Look, think about what we spoke about. Oh yeah, okay, we'll do that. And it worked brilliantly for him, and he's doing fantastically, and all credit to him. But as a coach, you have to find ways of what's going to motivate these guys to try and, what can I do that's going to make them that little bit better, that little bit more? What can I get more? And it's more of an academy type thing where you have to do your learning plans and all this sort of. And I thought, we'll try it again. And I mean, I did it with Zach Steffen as well when he came in. I said, what do you think of this? And he was very academic anyway. Zach, he comes through the college system and everything in the US, so he loved that, and he liked that type of stuff. So. It's good that these things work, and these things work for different reasons and different ones. Some people like it, some people don't. But there's different ways to try and motivate the goalkeeper and try and get something out of him. But you've got to work together. You have to work together. You have to have that relationship that they trust you, and they can come to you. You want them to come to you and go, what do you think of this? And be completely honest with you. And then you can discuss sessions, and you can discuss, well, I think you need to work on this. Look, I don't think this, I think your first touch is too close to your body. I think you need to get your first touch out, or you're not seeing the press, and you put, whatever it might be. And we'll go, I'll get that. Look, here's a couple of clips. What do you think? Yeah, I've got that. And once you have that relationship with your athlete, I think then you're on the right way. You're on the right way. You're both going in the right direction.
Moving to the changes and evolution of the game that we've seen in recent years, and I think it's probably changed quite a lot in the last 10, 15 years. What do you know, we've got things like the VAR, we've got goal kick rule changes, back pass bans, all those sorts of things. How do you find that has changed the mental side of goalkeeping from your perspective as a coach?
I think initially, I was playing when the back pass rule changed, so that was, for me, that's the biggest change in football in ever, really. It's certainly in our generation, and it's the biggest change. The game's trends change. The trends of the game change, so styles of play change. But that law changed football, and people have then changed the trends of it, and that was the biggest
For the better?
I think it has, yeah. I think it has. When you look back to the 80s and passing the ball back from the halfway line, the keeper's picking it up, and you think,
I remember those games.
I remember those games.
I remember those.
And I remember like rolling the ball out and the centre forward coming in to smash it, picking the ball up and rolling over to the other side. Thinking, how did he get away with that now? But so the game's certainly miles better for it. It's miles faster. And the goalkeepers now, he's a footballer that specialises in goalkeeping. That's what they are. It's changed, but I think now there seems to be a bit of a cycle now. Then they're going back. There's a lot more long balls. So there's not, people are still trying to build, still trying to play through the lines and break the first line, and fine, that's fine. But now the people are starting to go longer. So there's a bit of a trend that probably come in over the next few years. That there's going to be longer balls and So the trends are changing all the time, and you've got to move with it and identify that, and then develop your goalkeeper as such. But coming through academies now, all the goalkeepers are pretty much competent with their feet and understand what their job is now. That's just evolved as natural evolution, and with the coaching that now is in through academies. So all the goalkeepers coming through academies, coming into a first team, are all pretty competent with the feet now. That was a part of your philosophy and part of your session designs and programmed throughout the month or weeks or whatever way you programmed your periodization. It was always just okay. Well, we've got to start doing more passing, or we've got to be short and round and through and into. So you just worked on all those skills and joined them in with the team. So it's been going on since I started coaching. So it's just a natural evolution of the, like I say, things will change, and so and you can see Man United against Liverpool a couple of weeks back. You know, Man United, whether that was a tactical thing, they saw something or whatever, but lots of longer balls, and teams are now starting to go longer. Even Man City are starting to go longer from what they've changed. So,
and then the grassroots follows, and
that's just the way it is,
cycles. So before we wrap up, Alan, I mean, there's been umpteen questions where I could just go off the deep end and we'd probably end up chatting, and you'd end up missing your dinner, and I'd be late home and get wrong. But going back to your idols, then we talked Pat Jennings, we talked Bruce Grobbelaar, and interestingly, you're like, out of 4 guests, you're the 3rd person to mention Bruce Grobbelaar, which just goes to show the impact that he had on people of kind of our generation and onwards. But how do you feel that they'd survive in what is a very data-driven game nowadays, a very analytical and a faster-paced game, I would say? Do you think they'd keep in? They'd manage?
100%. I think if they're that good, if you're that talented, it doesn't matter. You will just be talented. However, the modern day, that's how it would be. You would have been coached that way, and if you've got that talent, that mindset, they'd survive, no problem. Absolutely. A lot of the goalkeepers back then, the coaching was they were just joining in with the team anyway. So some of the best goalkeepers that players that head tennis were the goalkeepers, So so they keep telling me, like even I remember what the Blackburn and Tim Flowers was like, brilliant at it. So but yeah, always. I remember going on trial once to Watford, and Tony Coton was there, and they had this, I think it was like a big wall thing, and they were all against the wall in the afternoon. I can't look at the noise of them, and they were there for an hour and a half. So all these that was you, and they'd have done their goalkeeping stuff, which was pretty basic at the time. You the corrigans and stuff like that across the goal, and But they did loads of outfield stuff and loads of goalkeepers. So now, if you're saying would they cope, 100% they'd cope. I mean, Jennings and Bruce Grobbelaar.
I think the best have always found a way to make their strength work around the game, right? Like they make the game theirs. Look at Nick Pope. Like throwing the ball out past halfway line. It's not a new thing. It's certainly not something that others haven't done. But the real personalities in Jordan Pickford, all the different things that he does, the head games that he plays with people, the way he manages things. I think the real greats that we've seen in goalkeeping just find a way to even buck the trend, right? Like this might be the way people play right now, but I'm going to play it my way.
Well, I mean, it's all about Bruce Grobbelaar. I mean, football's about having fun, and he always was. You didn't know what he was going to do next, so it was a little bit of that. Budgie Burridge was a little bit like that as well. They had fun, and you cannot take that out of the game just because it's your job. Yeah. You still got to have fun. I got too, when I played, I built myself up too much. I got too stressed out about games and overthought things and stuff like that. I mean, look back and go, I didn't enjoy it as much as I should have enjoyed it. So I always always try to put a little bit of that into when you're coaching and trying to help the kids develop.
Yeah.
What are you playing football for? Because they love it.
Yeah.
Well, why should it change? You've
Yeah.
still got to have that love and that enjoyment and freedom to play and express yourself. Like Jordan he does some bad things, like, but he just has this. It's just like love for it. The top ones have that love and for their art, and they want to get better at their art. And that should never ever leave you from when you put the gloves on and you come into an academy system or grassroots, wherever it may be. That's got to stay with you all the way through till you hang your gloves up and you never play again, because it's too much. There's so much now. Certainly with social media, I'm so glad I didn't have to. I don't think I could have survived as long as what I did having that. But there's just so much scrutiny now and analysis and coaches have got to do this and I've got to do this. You got to do this. Even the academy systems you come through and you've got so many people that have contact with you, and it's almost like the enjoyment can be taken out of it too quickly.
Find a way to be yourself
and enjoy it because it's a brilliant profession. If you have a career in football, any level at all, it's a brilliant thing to go and play football and somebody's going to pay you money. Thanks very much. It beats working. I'd say it beats working for a living.
Well, it is working, but it's and I talk to people a lot about this in my line of things. Is if you're not doing something that you enjoy, then you're not earning a good wage, because you're having the life sucked out of you by what you're doing. You've got to find a place where what you're good at meets your passion and what you enjoy doing, and bring the two together.
Yeah.
And that's where you should be at. And I think that's where a lot of footballers are quite fortunate in that regard, although not in others, because there's always detractors from every opportunity. But I mean, if you want an example of having fun in football, I showed my boy the Vinnie Jones stepping into goal when their keeper got red carded off, and Vinnie Jones steps into goal. That is just an outrageous match, and just him and the players having fun, the opposition players having fun with him, and riling them up and just playing the character like nobody, like Vinnie Jones could play the character like nobody else. But I think that's just a prime example of what's missing from today's game, almost like that tongue in cheek. Yes, we are footballers, but you know what? Today we're just gonna. I think the money takes it out of it as well. Like there's so much money in football now.
There is. I mean, if that's your motivation, that's your motivation. You can't take that away from people. If that's what makes them better, then fine. But I think that if you got to think about just want to have a career in the game, and you've got to enjoy it. At the end of the day, you have to enjoy it, because that's the only way you'll get better. But you can't be at the top of your game, whatever talent you've got. I was never the most talented, but I thought if I work hard, I'll try and make the most of what I've got. And I think I've seen players, and I've seen goalkeepers, and they're so talented, but just don't want to work at it, push themselves. They don't want to, and they don't reach the level, and that's so frustrating. As a coach, that's the most frustrating thing, when you see that talent and they're not prepared to push themselves, and then you see somebody with less talent and they're just non-stop and they're working, just can't quite reach that level.
Yeah.
And they find a level and they go and have a career, and that's great, and they deserve that. But it's so frustrating as a coach when you see, come on, give me some more. Because the best athletes, no matter who they are, so Steve Redgrave doesn't win all those gold medals.
Yeah.
By sitting on his horse watching telly and watching rowing on, he's
by doing half an hour.
He's there at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just saying, in a boat rowing up and down.
Steve, if you're watching, let us know. Drop a message. Yeah, find out.
That'll be good to know. But and then they go in the gym and they're doing this, and in the afternoons and maybe do night times, and they're trying to maximise because they know somebody else is doing it. If they're not doing it, then somebody else is going to get ahead of them.
So working harder than them.
But that's I said all the time to young goalkeepers, it's like, don't think what you're getting at a club, you might be in 3 nights a week and on a game on a weekend. That's not enough. Don't think I'll do that and I'll go and have a career. That's not enough. You've got to do more. Go and play school games and play badminton at school and basketball and do whatever you can and become this holistic athlete. And you'll learn there's so many transferable skills in all these different games. Do all these different games, learn all these different skills, and that'll help you become a better footballer, wherever you, or goalkeeper or whatever it may be. So you can never do enough. Never do enough. No matter if you think you've done enough, you haven't.
I love it. I love it. Alan, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Top man. Thank you.
Wow, hands like Ray Clements. Thank you for watching along as well, or listening. If you're in the car listening along on the audio, please give us a follow and a subscribe, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bye bye.